And we're live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on a Saturday back to the Friday Nitro Review. I'm Nick the Geek, and I'm joined, of course, by my co-host, and my co-conspirator. I'm joined by the real king of wrestling media. I'm joined by just Jimmy Baby. Jimmy, how the hell are you doing on this insane 4th of July weekend for you, I imagine?
Yes, it is extremely busy, but I managed to squeeze our Nitro show in as well as watching it this morning. It's been hectic, but I got to relax there for about the 50 minutes of the show, so that was good. That was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, we don't celebrate your Independence Day over here, so
I've had quite
a relaxed couple of days. So no sleep, but that's nothing new for me. Right? Shall we get started?
Absolutely, because this is a jam-packed show.
Oh,
it went by really, really fast.
Dude.
Really fast.
So many notes. Of course, this show starts open with the usual commentary team of Eric Bischoff, Steve Monger, McMichael in a lovely leather attire this week, as well as the dog also in leather, because as you noted the other week, they always wear the same stuff. And of course, Bobby the Brain Heenan, but this week he did not have a bag of Doritos in front of him, which last week confused me greatly, but
he was mocking Mongo. He was mocking Mongo last week. And Mongo's jacket this week reminded me of like a Rick Steiner one. Yes. When he started wearing the leather jackets. And Braun Breaker, like one Braun Breaker is now. He doesn't now, but he was for a little bit. That's what it reminded me of.
And we got straight into it this week because the match started before they cut away from commentary. The bell had already rang. We have the sublime match of Eddie Guerrero versus Jerry Lynn, also known as Mr. JL, the creative geniuses down there in Atlanta. To the point that at one point in this match, Heenan said, "What does JL stand for?" And Eric just went, "I don't know."
And then Mongo says, "Why don't you rip his mask off and let me see what he looks like under there?" And I'm like, that's not a very babyface commentary thing to say.
Not in the slightest. This was a very, very fast match.
Yeah.
This started off with a quick Irish whip crossover. Eddie Guerrero hits a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Beautiful tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Goes into the tope atomico from the outside. Jerry Lynn comes back at one point, hits an absolutely gnarly triangle dropkick with Eddie on the top rope to take him to the outside. This wasn't very long, as I didn't expect it to be, but yet again, Eddie Guerrero opens Nitro.
Yeah. It's reminiscent of, this very Rampage feeling to me with how the match started like that. Like there was a lot of times you tune into Rampage and the match, like the people would be in the ring and the match would start right away. Obviously they did commentary, that's their formula, but the match starting before they could even get to the ring, no entrances, no nothing. That was very Rampage like. But again, that's not a complaint. I'm a Rampage head through and through. The match, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I think with what they did in the match, it didn't feel like 4 minutes and 30 seconds. No, and that's always a good thing. Mr. JL, I wish we could see a little bit more of him, but again, we only have the hour show right now, so they can't get him on there as often. Eddie Guerrero, obviously awesome. That's why I picked him for the thumbnail this week. I was like, okay, we're gonna sway away from the main event for a little bit. We're gonna put some Eddie on there.
Yeah.
Because he deserves it.
Also, Eddie wins with a really nice sunset flip reversal. Well, an Oklahoma roll into a sunset flip reversal.
Yeah.
Really got his legs over JL's shoulders, properly holding the pin on, which I always appreciate because it's an illusion, professional wrestling. Yeah. And when they keep the illusion tight, it's always nice.
Yeah. Very, very good opening match. Very solid.
Solid opening match. We then went into a Mean Gene segment with Lex Luger and Jimmy Hart, baby. Where Lex basically has, as we all know, the triangle match coming up at Starrcade against Sting and Ric Flair. This was a little interview segment just to promote that match, basically. Jimmy Hart did the usual, "Hey, you haven't got a chance, Flair. You haven't got a chance, Sting. Lex Luger, everybody knows he's the uncrowned world champion." And then they went to shots from Halloween Havoc, from World War III, and from last week on Nitro, where Lex had Randy in the rack, then he had Randy in the Fujiwara, and then he was just beating down Randy Savage. And Lex proceeds to turn around and say, "Everybody knows I'm the uncrowned champion. I already had Savage beat 3 times. If it wasn't for Yeah. If it wasn't for Sting,
you didn't win
it. No, if it wasn't for Sting, I'd already be the world champion. And Stinger, just so you know, I know we're friends. And Flair, I've dealt with you before. Sometimes we're on the same page, sometimes we're not. But when it comes down to you and me, Sting, it's may the best man win.
Yeah, that comes into play later tonight.
It does.
Yes,
it does. Okay.
Yeah, it was okay. I thought it was okay. I think they're kind of starting to beat these Mean Gene things into the ground a little bit. Like, I liked it on the pay-per-view because you have 3 hours to fill. Okay, that's fine. But on Nitro, you have 1 hour. And I think there was, 3 Mean Gene segments tonight?
Yeah.
And only one of them I thought was necessary. The other 2 weren't. And you could have given that extra, 2.5 minutes to Eddie Guerrero and Mr. JL.
Yeah.
Or even one of the other matches. I'm just being greedy because I prefer the Eddie Mr. JL. But
no. Well, I'm pretty sure Eddie was the second shortest match on the card. So
no, he wasn't.
Was he?
There was 4 matches and he had the second longest. But I mean, that's
not.
Oh,
of course, Luger's was really short.
Yeah, but that's not any indication as to anything because the longest match is 3 times longer than it. So
yeah.
That just get rid of 2 of these Mean Gene segments and give some more time to those guys, especially since they're opening the show with some exciting wrestling. Like, that's probably where I would have went with it.
Yeah. After this, we went to what was, I'm assuming, your highlight of the show, Jimmy.
Starrcade promo first.
Oh, sorry. Starrcade versus WCW versus New Japan. They're really pushing the Worlds Collide, for lack of a better term, angle of this pay-per-view, which is good. Because at this point, especially in 1995, having one company go up against another company was a big deal.
Yeah.
No one did it. Right? You never saw Vince do it. Right? He'd occasionally use guys from CMML or AAA and put them in the ring, like Mil Mascaras, for example, but would never do a versus concept.
Yeah.
So kudos to Eric Bischoff at this point for coming up with this.
It was like almost like a legit invasion angle, the way they're promoting it. It's the Japanese invasion. And that's
we then went to what was undoubtedly, as I said, your favorite part of the show.
It actually wasn't, but I'm never not gonna have a good time, dancing, baby. Woo! I love it.
And of course, we are talking about Disco Inferno with who, by the way, I'd like to point on, has put some chunk on.
He fluctuated a lot during his time in WCW. Yeah.
He has put some chunk on at this point. He is currently not a cruiserweight.
No.
But he's not wrestling cruiserweights. So it makes sense. No. Versus a Nitro debuting Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
He was on one of the early episodes.
Was he?
Yes.
See, it's very
I'll go back and figure out which one it was because he wrestled Johnny B. Bad, I believe.
Notes are all digital. Oh, of course he did.
Paul Orndorff versus Johnny B. Bad on the second Nitro. And as I remember, it was a bad match. Paul is washed.
Unfortunately, Paul Orndorff suffered an accident.
Yeah.
Early on in his career at this point. And you'll notice as his career in WCW goes on, his right arm begins to shrink.
Yeah, I noticed it in this one.
Yeah, considerably. To the point where Heenan makes jokes at it, talking about how Orndorff has a legendary left hand.
He said it in this match, too.
But this was very quick. Disco jumps Orndorff to start the match off. Couple of backs in the corner. Orndorff comes back, hits him with a couple of hits, hits him with the left hand. German suplex, foot on the rope. 1, 2, 3. Orndorff's your winner.
So, few notes. I like, because a lot of times you see people jump the person and there's like, why? Like, y'all don't have beef, you don't have anything. Disco jumped Paul because Paul cut his music off. Like, he cut Disco off from dancing. So, obviously, that would make Disco mad based on what we've seen Disco doing the past few weeks, coming out dancing when he's not even supposed to do it. So, very nice touch there to have him jump Paul because, yes, that makes sense. Paul looked a lot better in this match than he did in week 2 against Johnny B. Bad. That doesn't mean that Disco's better than Johnny B. Bad to making people look good. I think Paul just was probably in a little bit better condition or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked his elbows. I thought they were really good. His mockery of Disco's dance yeah, shame on you, Paul. You're not Mr. Wonderful. You suck, bud. And the German suplex was really cool because it was almost a modified one that looked like a back suplex, but it was a German suplex. So I like it. That was the finish. I was like, did they really just finish with a back suplex replay? I was like, no, that was like, it was almost like I don't know the name of it.
The best example is Steve Austin. That's if you watch, but I hate to bring it up, but if you watch the Benoit Austin match from King of the Ring 2002, where they do the German suplex exchange, 10 each, Austin does the suplex to the side, the same way Orndorff does here. And it's to protect your neck and your shoulder.
Yeah. Well,
that's why he's doing it.
I was going to say, it reminds me of Karen Cross's, what is it? The Saito suplex, just without the turn. It was just straight up, straight down, as opposed to doing the turn. That's what it reminded me of. And the foot on the rope was unnecessary.
Completely.
It was so dainty, and it was like, what are you doing, man? But okay. But yeah. It was fine. It got Disco in a match. I'm not mad. Again, I love Disco. Deal with it. And it was 2 minutes and 23 seconds. This was the shortest match on the card. With the 4 matches we have, that's perfectly okay. They didn't need a big time match. Like, so this was fine.
Not at all. After this, commentary promote the main event of Sting and Hogan versus the 4 Horsemen.
Real quick before we go. I don't know if you have one, but I have one right here. Mongo's line of the week during the Paul
I don't have one this week. Please go.
Disco Inferno match. He's talking about something about Disco Inferno. I didn't catch the beginning of it, but he said, somebody get Pepe a bedpan. Why? Why are we talking? Come on, man. It wasn't anything special. We've heard much better ones, but I did want to get one in this week. I'm trying to pay more attention to it, but he's getting better, so it's harder to find one that really kind of
because he doesn't suck as much. So
him and Bobby working off each other is really great. And Bischoff even mentions it at one point. It says something about y'all having your verbal tirade. Go back to watching the match or something like that. So, but yeah, the Mongo line of the week is getting tougher. Mongo, you're getting too good. Why don't you dumb yourself down a little bit, man? I'm missing that. But back to the show.
We go to a quick promotion for the main event of Hogan and Sting versus Flair and Anderson. This brings out Mean Gene again on the ramp this time.
Yes.
To bring out 3 of the 4 Horsemen in Pillman, Anderson, and Flair. Now, quick note, they are in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is Horseman country. They get the loudest reaction of anybody of the night, especially when Rick starts talking. Pillman's promo is unhinged. It's perfect. It's so Brian Pillman. He goes off on everybody. He goes off on Mongo, says Mongo was taking some pictures in the private jet and you are surprisingly flexible, son. Which I thought was better than any of Mongo's lines this week.
Pillman was amazing.
He goes off on Sting. He goes off on Savage. He goes off on Hogan. And then for no reason, except we found out the reason later on, he goes off on Paul Orndorff. Now, he goes off on Mr. Wonderful, starts saying how you'll never be a horseman. You never could be a horseman. That gammy arm's never going to let you be a horseman.
Before we get to the next part of this, I do want to praise Brian Pillman. Because again, I know nothing about this part of the history of the Horsemen. I've never really even been that big fan of the Horsemen or anything. So I really don't know much about any of that. But I know Pillman is an unhinged guy. And I was like, I didn't really think he would fit in with them. But my God, he is like the perfect pairing with Ric Flair. They're both unhinged psychopaths. Just one is on this side of it, and the other one is on this side of it. It's
two
great.
sides of the same coin.
He fits perfectly. And this probably is the best promo so far in Nitro that Pillman cut. Because
I'll give you that.
He's believable. Like, he is really believable. And
without a shadow of a doubt.
So I don't know what else I could say other than the fact that it was just absolutely amazing. I was like, okay. I don't care that you're just rambling on about everybody. You're unhinged. You're supposed to just spout off on people. And then it led to the next part, which is like, okay, cool. I'm with it.
Mr. Wonderful comes out in response to Brian's promo to chew him out. Basically says, you don't deserve to be a horseman. All you are is carrying their bags. And if that's what you want to do for the rest of your career, that's what you can do.
He said, I could have been a horseman.
Yeah.
Like, what? If you could have been a horseman, you would have been a horseman, but you're not a horseman. So,
yeah. Rick is, if you watch it back again at any time, Jim, you'll notice Rick is giggling while Paul Orndorff is talking.
Yeah, he's having a hard time. He's struggling. He's fighting for his life.
He's struggling to keep a straight face, especially when he drops the "I could have been a horseman" line. And Rick just goes as if to say, "What the hell?" But this ends up with Pillman jumping Orndorff. Well, with a couple of right hands.
Arn tried to like stop it.
Yeah, he tried to break it up.
Yeah, I know you're a hothead, blah blah blah. But that's when Pillman said, slap him, taste out your mouth, buddy. And then, like an idiot, Paul Orndorff fought back.
When there's three guys.
Yeah.
This proceeds that Arn holds Paul down. Flair puts the boots to him. Pillman puts the boots to him. And then out of nowhere, Ric Flair climbs on the stage. Arn Anderson puts him in the power drive position. And boom, spike power driver on the concrete.
Yep.
Now, I would like to point one thing out. Slight continuity error. Ric Flair's on probation.
But he didn't strike an official.
Ric Flair is on probation. The reason they are on probation is for any unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's not unsportsmanlike conduct. They were attacked.
They weren't attacked.
Yes,
Pillman
they were.
Threw the first. Pillman threw the first
beef is
shot.
But the beef is between them, and then he struck all of them.
Okay, all right, I'll give you that. I mean,
I'm trying to make it make sense.
It's thin, but I'll give you that.
There's a brawl that ensued, and he came out and instigated it with his shit talking. There you go. Like,
all right,
he instigated it, so he got what he deserved, Mr. Wonderfully Stupid.
But they hit the spike power driver. Wonderful is down. He's starfished on the ground. Heenan is panicking. Because everybody knows Bobby used to be. Bobby used to know Paul Orndorff as a manager. Could have had a neck injury. Anything goes down. Heenan goes down while they're putting him on the stretcher, and you see Bobby stood there, hands on face, really worried and panicked. Great work by Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
They carry him out. We then go to, in the middle of this, a WCW Saturday Nights promo. Which will be main evented by Sting versus the Sergeant Bill Putman. I can never remember his name.
Colonel Parker. No,
not Colonel Parker.
It's Colonel somebody.
No, it's Sergeant. It's Sergeant Bill Pittman or something like that.
Yes, that's okay. Yeah. And apparently, Brian Pillman and Paul Orndorff are supposed to wrestle as well.
Yep, and Eddie Guerrero will have a singles match opponent to be announced.
Oh, man. We just saw Paul Orndorff get spiked on the concrete, and he's supposed to have a match on Saturday night. I'm going to look this up. He better not have had a match.
No, he better not have had a match at all. While we do that, medical take care of Orndorff out of the stretcher. Bobby is there, as I've said. He's still being taken out of the stretcher. We then go straight into match 3, which is Lex Luger with Jimmy Hart, baby, versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And I think this is Duggan's second time on Nitro.
I think it's a second match.
Yeah,
he appeared. I know
he did the light trip the other week and stuff.
Yeah. This was my highlight of the show. Honestly,
really?
I love this match.
I thought this match was loads of fun.
Yes,
because this is an old school heel versus face dynamic. This is the babyface beats the snot out of the heel for 5 minutes. Followed by go.
You're good.
Okay, this is Jim Duggan beats the snot out of Lex Luger for about 5 minutes. Jimmy Hart then gets up on the apron with the 2x4, starts casting distraction. Duggan comes over, tries to get Jimmy Hart's face. Lex pushes Duggan headfirst into the 2x4, puts him up in the torture rack. Submission win. Luger wins the match.
Yeah,
really short, really effective. Exactly what it needed to do.
So this match was 2 minutes and 44 seconds. That's all it needed to be. I really appreciate Duggan as a brawler. He's really good at it, and he knows how to get the crowd invested. Like, that's a very key thing to have. Like, that's why he had a career the career that he had is because he could get over with the crowd. He got the crowd involved. His brawling is amazing. It's believable. He's a big dude. He kind of, I see a lot if I got man, how do I say this? Eugene clearly was inspired by Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I don't know if that was ever a thing that they mentioned during Eugene's run.
He was.
Okay. But clearly inspired by Hacksaw Jim Duggan because the similarities are there.
Oh, yeah.
And then in my notes, I put, where is it at? Lex just got beat down, which is fine. That, again, heel, babyface. That's what we want to see. Fun match, creative finish. I like that Jim Duggan, because Jim Duggan's an unhinged guy anyway. So him getting distracted by Jimmy Hart, I buy. Like, that would happen. And Lex to push him into the 2x4 and then use that to get him into the torture rack so that it's like, okay, even though Luger took most of the damage in this match, the 2x4 was the equalizer. It got used against Duggan. Dang, babyface got, like, the babyface got, they got one over on the babyface. And it's not that it comes across dumb, but again, Duggan is kind of a dumb guy. So it all works. Part of
Duggan's character is his dumbass.
Yes, it worked. Everything about this worked. So I really enjoyed it. Highlight of the show for me. I just absolutely love it. And again, I can't believe I'm becoming a Luger fan. This is absolutely mind-blowing to me. It'll never cease to amaze me.
I won't cease to amaze me either, Jim. I've always liked Lex. I was a big fan when I was a kid just because he visually was so striking. As a 5-6-year-old kid, seeing somebody that big and that jacked, I was like, what? But as I've got older, I've learned to appreciate Lex. He'll never be the best promo. He's never going to be the best promo. That's why he was always better suited to have a manager.
I mean, back in the day, there wasn't many people who were excellent at promos either. Like, this is a learned craft over the years. And my thing was with him is he was WCW and I was Team NWO. So screw Luger. That was my mentality. Especially when he did what he did later on. We'll get to that later on during the NWO run. But
just a quick sidebar. They cut away from Luger and or Duggan's match at one point to show Orndorff being taken out in an ambulance.
Yes.
So if he does have a match on Saturday night, major continuity problems.
So he doesn't. I looked it up.
Good.
Sting's match is Sergeant Craig Pittman. That's the name of the guy. And then Pillman ends up wrestling Johnny B. Bad. Which
better.
That's a great match because that was the first match I watched on that first pay-per-view that I was like, okay, Johnny B. Bad can actually go.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best matches of this run so far, even though it wasn't on Nitro, it was part of the pay-per-view, but it was an amazing match. So,
right after this, we go to our third Mean Gene segment of the night.
Pointless,
absolutely pointless. It's him and Savage. Savage says the weirdest lines during this segment. Basically, it's to promote the fact that at Starrcade, Savage is, I think, pulling double duty. Because he's got to defend the WCW title against Tenzon, who, by the way, if you haven't seen Hiroki Tenzon wrestle, he's amazing. He's stiff as balls.
When
really
is it?
Starrcade.
Is it?
Yeah, he's wrestling Tenzon on Starrcade. That's according to Gene. So I think maybe Savage is pulling double duty on Starrcade because he's also supposed to be wrestling the winner of the triangle match. And maybe the idea is the triangle match winner is going to have to wrestle twice. So Savage has to wrestle twice as well.
Let's see. Yes, he is wrestling Tenzon.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they're both doing double duty that night.
Both doing double duty. But in 7 days from now, so next week on Nitro, nice bit of promotion for the main event of next week's show, it is Randy Savage defending the WCW title against the Giant.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And when Randy is asked what he's going to do in this match, Randy says that, it's a tough task, brother, but I'm going to be like dynamite and explode all over him.
What? Foreshadowing.
Much.
This is the moment in time where Tony Khan says, I got it. I'm going to call my show Dynamite.
This is where I got it. And that is why I'm wearing the AEW top today.
Yeah.
It was because of this line. It's going to be like dynamite and explode all over him because there is no substitute for victory.
He put him over, though. He put the Giant over. He literally likened him to Andre the Giant and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think this was bad. I just think it was pointless.
There was no need for it.
I think the commentary
get your world champ on the show, but considering what happens after the main event,
you got him on the show anyway.
Exactly. So,
and then Mean Gene was in the ring with him, and he could have brought. But then again, that was more about the turmoil. I think the commentary team could have just done a good job of putting the Giant match over, especially since the Giant wasn't even on the show.
Yeah.
Or maybe have the Giant come out after the end and take him out and be like, oh, well, that's how you really kind of solidify. I don't know. It could have been done a little better. I just think this was pointless and more time could have went to Eddie and Mr.
I think, they didn't need to have this. They could have extended the Luger-Duggan match. They could have extended the Eddie match. They could have extended any of the other 3 matches.
Luger's and Macho Man's just were, okay, you told us something, but it wasn't necessary.
No, it was completely pointless.
Yeah.
After this, we go to our main event. We get to the 4 Horsemen, Arn Anderson and Ric Flair versus Sting and the red and yellow sandwich himself, Hulk Hogan, who, by the way, I am pleased to say, got booed so much during this match.
Hogan sucks. Hogan sucks. I was in the bed just going,
he got booed to death during this match. But the crowd are solidly behind the Horsemen. As I said before, they're in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is Ric Flair's hometown. This is the heart of Horseman country.
Yeah,
this was a pretty long match for Nitro.
13 minutes and 25 seconds.
Yeah,
like I said, that's 3 times as long as the Eddie Guerrero Mr. Jail one.
Yeah. Okay, so Sting eats it for a while. At the start of the match, basically gets beaten down because he's like, no, Hogan, I'll start because Sting's an idiot. I love Sting, but Sting is an idiot. Sting is the most gullible, swerved wrestler in the history of the business.
Man, I'm looking at him, and he's ultimate babyface, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, ultimate babyface. I love him.
He's the babyface.
Yeah. So
basically, so he cuts that, he gets knocked. He knocks Arn down. Hogan tags in. So does Flair. We get the Hogan-Flair face-off, which is nice. Everybody goes crazy for Rick. I think Sting tags back in too early. Rick tries to take over. Sting hits a backslide. Flair kicks out. Sting gets Arn back in the ring. Arn goes to the spinebuster. Fails. Sting gets the Scorpion Deathlock. Flair gets in the ring. Sting lets go of the Deathlock. Goes to put the Deathlock on Flair. Hogan gets in the ring to try and block Flair. The referee stops Hogan. Arn kicks Sting in the back of the head. They then wrestle for a while. Hogan tags in with Arn Anderson. Arn hits a beautiful spinebuster on Hulk Hogan, which I'm surprised Hogan took.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised Hogan took it. But he did. Maybe he just thought, well, I'm in Horseman country. I don't really have a choice. And then out of nowhere, before that, Sting gets back into it with Flair, gets in the corner, hits the mounted punches, hits a gorilla press rocket launcher on Arn Anderson out of one corner. Sting doing the legwork for his team in this match, I'd like to point out, like massively doing the legwork for Hogan.
Big time.
We then have a running Jimmy Hart, who starts going to, hey, ref, I'm over here. Referee, hey, look at me. I'm Jimmy Hart. And then Luger appears from nowhere, chop blocks Hogan, which makes no sense because his finisher attacks the back. And then he puts Hogan in the rack on the outside for about 10 seconds, drops Hogan, and Jimmy and Luger scutter off back to the back. Hogan is down on the floor. Sting eats shit for a while, pardon my language. Gets beaten down, and then the savior in red and yellow gets in the ring, hits a big boot on Arn, hits a big boot on Flair, hits the leg drop. Sting hits a massive Stinger splash on Flair in the corner to stop him breaking up the pin. 1, 2, 3. Sting and Hogan are your winners. Sorry, that was my phone. After this,
hold on. I have a few notes on the match.
Oh, go for it.
Okay, so there's 3 members of this match that worked their butt off.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed everything they did.
Correct.
Then there's Hulk Hogan. First off, he took the chop from Flair and just immediately was like, no, brother, it's not going to work for me. It's like, okay, This is Hulkamania, whatever. I'll buy into it. I'll see where this is going. Then at one point they get into the point where they actually do get some work in on Hogan, and he's selling it to an extent. And instead of building up that tag to Sting just a little bit, he just rushes over there and tags him.
Right.
And that is the most political nonsense crap I've ever seen him pull in the ring to date so far. Because he wasn't going to have the fans cheer, even though the fans weren't behind them as a team because it is Flair country.
Yeah.
They're still cheering for Sting a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And to not build that anticipation up just a little bit to tag Sting in so he can come in with the hot tag, dumb.
Especially when you consider how much of a build Sting gave Hogan's hot tag.
Yes.
With Flair working over his knee, putting him in the figure 4.
Selfish, man. I that literally took me out of anything Hogan was involved in. Then we gave away the finish already, right?
Yeah.
Flair and okay. Oh, no, they lost. That peeves me off because what was the point of Luger coming down during the match? Why? He took Hogan out. Okay, that's where you could have had Sting, Flair and Arn work over Sting and beat him, and then Hogan comes in and then do your post-match stuff. But no, they had to have Hogan be Superman again after getting attacked by Luger and then come in, finish the match, make the save on the hot tag that Sting laid out perfectly for him after working his butt off. And like, what the? It literally peeved me because I was like, everything about this match is really cool. And then Hogan came in, hot tag, 5 moves, wins. I'm like, you've got to be shitting me.
It wasn't even 5 moves. It was 3.
He hit big boot, leg drop. Yeah, you're right. Big boot, leg drop. I like that Sting got in there with a stinger splash on Arn or on Flair just to kind of do the thing. Arn's spine buster on Hogan was beautiful. And then Hogan just says, not going to work for me, brother. Oh, my.
Didn't even let him get the 2 count.
Yeah.
Could have literally let him get a 2 count on him.
And on a positive note here, again, I really enjoyed Flair, Arn, and Sting in this match. Absolutely great.
So did I.
Arn is wonderful. And we talk about comedy wrestlers all the time, and Flair never gets brought up in this conversation.
That's hilarious.
I think he belongs on it because not in a goofy way. Flair is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
His selling, his bumps, his little antics that he pulls, they're all hilarious. He'll sit there and slap somebody, and then they're like Hogan's like, "Nah, I'm gonna work for me, brother." And Flair's like, "No. And then get up and poke him in the eye, and then strut. That's hilarious, man.
It's great.
I love Flair pre-98. That's what I'm learning.
I mean, there's a great spot with Flair in this match where he does his usual do-si-do over the ropes.
Yeah. Runs
towards Sting and Sting bang.
Yeah.
And Flair just eats it and hits the floor.
Amanda even popped at that. Amanda, she saw it was like, so yeah, it was Flair.
That's hilarious. He's a
pre-98. I absolutely love Ric Flair.
He's a very giving wrestler.
Yes.
Always was. Like, even all the time Flair was.
I won't say always was, but he was in his prime, in his heyday. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, I'll agree with
absolutely.
Yeah, very giving wrestler, always, especially for Sting. Flair took a very large cadence of making sure he got Sting over when he did. Like, he saw something big in Sting. He wanted to make sure that Sting was pushed into the right position in the company. And I remember there's an interview with Rick where he's talking about when Hogan got brought in and he went and took Sting to one side. And he said, your push is over, pal. And he said, what do you mean? He goes, they're not going to push you now. He goes, all that work we did, all that effort to get you to be the top babyface. He goes, do not let him bury you. And thank God for the Crow gimmick, because it was all the way to Starrcade 97 for Hogan to try and bury him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Man. Yeah. My hatred for Hogan, clear. I've always hated the red and yellow stuff. The only praise I've really given him in this is a few promos and just how funny he is. But yeah, this one really peeved me. But now to the post-match. Sorry, I had to get that in.
First off, Hogan wins to a chorus of boos.
Hogan sucks. Hogan sucks.
Which is wonderful.
Yes, I love it.
Because it's the start of the seeding of Hollywood.
It was like the Seth Rollins choir thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I love it. Hogan, you suck, dude.
We then go to the post-match angle. The Horsemen start to beat down Sting, and then they start to beat down Hogan. Lex Luger comes in the ring again, and he holds Sting off. He's like, "It's not your problem, pals. Just leave Hogan to get his just desserts. It's not your problem." Sting pushes Lex to one side, saves Hogan. Sting starts getting beaten down a little bit. Savage makes the run in. Savage saves Sting. Sting turns around. Now, this wasn't done very well, because if Sting had just turned around and then just cracked Randy as if he didn't know who he was, this would have made more sense. However,
I actually disagree with it there. I like it. I like it because then it really adds more intrigue to it. It's like, wait a second. That wasn't on accident.
No, he blocked him in the face.
But Sting is such a good dude. Was it? Like, I think that added to the intrigue of it, honestly. Because I think if he would have just turned around and done it like that, it would have been like, okay, it was an accident. But now we have to sit there and think like, man, that didn't look like an accident, but it is Sting. So it had to have been, right? Like, I thought it was beautifully done.
No, I thought it was done well. I just thought it was a bit strange.
Yeah, strange, but I from my perspective, I think the intent was that it was supposed to come across that way to build the intrigue.
But after this, we cut to our fourth Mean Gene segment of the night.
This one was fine.
This one was good. This one made sense because it was to clear what had happened up. It was to advertise Starrcade. It was to advertise next week. This one made a lot of sense. Mean Gene gets in the ring and he says, "Sting, what the hell?" Basically, he says, "What the hell?" And Randy's like,
"What the hell, man?
What the hell, man? What'd you hit me for?" And Sting turns around and says, "Look, it was the heat of the moment. I don't know if I can trust anybody. I just saved Hogan. I see you. You're blah, blah, blah. So I'm sorry. It was the heat of the moment. I wish I could take it back. I can't take it back. But look into my eyes and know that I'm on your side."
I believe Sting.
I believe Sting.
Yeah.
To which
that's how
Hogan,
good of a job.
who cannot let anybody have their flowers.
Yeah.
Has to chime in.
Brother.
Wait a minute, brother. He just saved us. It's like, no, he saved you, Hogan. Randy saved you both.
Well, no, Hogan did say he saved me. He didn't say us.
No, he did. The second time.
I remember he said, he just saved me, brother.
Yeah, well, when he chimed back in, he's like, he just saved us, Randy.
Okay.
Before they went off the air.
I didn't catch that part. But I do know initially he did say me because Hogan was the one getting his butt whooped.
We then go into the fact that Hogan, who cannot let, cannot let anybody have the flowers, but good on him for this one, turns around and says, "You've got the Giant next week, brother. If you don't get your shit together, you're not going to be world champion by the time Starrcade rolls around. You need to get it together because you got the Giant next week." And Randy basically turns around and says, "Don't worry, brother. I'll handle him." And that was the end of the show. We then cut back to we went to an advert break. We had another Starrcade promo. Really good one this time. All really pushing home the New Japan versus WCW angle. During the match, they mentioned that Sting will be facing Sasaki again. But the New Japan offices are refusing to put the US title on the line on American soil.
Those bastards.
To which Mongo melts down and starts talking about, "This is ridiculous. Randy's putting the world title on the line. Why can't they put the US title on the line? It's the US title. It belongs in the US, baby." And so on and so forth. Bischoff basically just sits there and lets Heenan and Mongo go off for a while. Then he turns around, basically says, "We need to figure out what's going on with Sting. We need to figure out what's going on here because he's still friends with Luger. Then he's hitting Savage. What's going on? It doesn't make sense." But if this is what I think it is, Bischoff is doing a very, very clever job because this is all leading up to Sting's famous back to the camera promo in a year or so, where Sting has the slightly long black hair and he's in the red and white tights and he basically does a promo with his back to the hard cam where he explains that now Sting is for Sting. "I'm tired of having everybody else's back. I'm tired of being questioned. I'm tired of being accused. I'm tired of doing all of this stuff."
With knowing that now that's going to be a thing and that's what he's leading towards, like that makes the Crow thing so much cooler to me And also plays into what I was just saying. I think him decking Randy after pausing for a minute really adds that intrigue, because it's like you want to believe he did that on purpose, but then it's like, man, Sting is not that guy.
Nah.
So, man, it was beautifully done. Like that kind of saved the Hogan mess in that match prior to save this match from having a much worse grade. That's how much Hogan pissed me off, as I was almost ready to give this show a D. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. In Flair country, you can't give that man the victory here.
I know.
After Luger attacks you? What?
This was the ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
Flair should have got the win. But that was the show.
Yes.
Of WCW Nitro on December the 11th, 1995. Jimmy, what is your grade?
Like I just was saying, I was so ready to give it a D because of Hogan, but I really enjoyed Sting's work in this one. I loved the Hogan Luger match. I loved Eddie, Mr. JL. Too many Mean Gene segments. And it's very rare that I'm going to complain about getting a Macho Man like interview or anything, but it just seemed pointless to me.
There was no reason for it.
Yeah. So a disco wrestled, that's always a good plus. I like the intrigue they're building with Macho, Hogan, and Sting. That's really good dynamic. The Paul Orndorff stuff was good with the Horsemen, not him being Disco. So Disco losing, Hogan being Hogan, C plus. Again, C plus, and that's me again. The main event was so fun. It just had the wrong winner. Just had the wrong winner.
I'm gonna give it a B minus.
Okay, that's
just because I really enjoyed the Eddie match. I enjoyed the Luger Duggan match, like you said. Disco Orndorff was
what it was. It's just what it was. It was a TV.
It was what it was. I really liked the Horseman angle with Orndorff. I thought that was great.
Good. That was good stuff.
And as you say, I absolutely loved Sting's work in the main event. Hogan could go piss up a flagpole.
Ridiculous, man.
But it's like, to put it bluntly, every single time someone has to tag with Hulk Hogan, it's like they're trying to ice skate uphill.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a constant climb trying to get over. And then Hogan comes in and goes, that doesn't work for me, brother. I'm the man.
And then the other point that's really starting to become noticeable is I expect Hogan to just win.
Yeah.
And he does. So that's a bad thing. Like, it'll be fun when he eventually does lose, but how often does that happen?
Well, once he turns to Hollywood, not a lot.
But with that, that's a whole different animal, and I'm fine with that.
But I was going to say the difference is when he's Hollywood Hogan, he's a scumbag.
You're supposed to hate you want to see him lose.
Yeah.
As the red and yellow guy, you're like, you don't want to see him lose, but I want to see him lose. Like that's where the problem is.
Agreed.
And I'm glad that Bischoff was smart enough to notice it after Sting said no, apparently, whatever. I think it's all bullshit. But I think it's crazy that Hogan had to visually see the NWO was making money before he was like, oh, okay, that is gonna work for me, brother. Like you suck, man. You suck. But yeah, so that's the show. I'll
tag on to Hall and Nash's coattails for a while.
That's the show.
That is the show. Bit of a rant at the end.
Yeah, I'm not.
I've been Nick the Geek. If you enjoy what we do here at the Friday Nitro Review, hopefully we'll be back on Friday next week. All depends on life.
Yeah.
Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on Spotify. You can find me on Twitter. You can find Jimmy on Twitter. Hit us up, ask us whatever you like. And always remember, we are but two geeks obsessed with a good show. And our opinion means nothing without yours in the comments below. See you next week.
Deuces. I didn't have a good one this week. Sorry.